Three at the Etihad. Manchester City led twice in the game, but Spurs pull off an heroic, a dramatic, an absolutely sensational, sizzling, pulsating comeback at the death to make it 3-3 in this game. We are today sponsored, as you know, by BetMGM Golden Goals. Get their game downloaded now. It's free to play. And if you predict six correct scores, you win £2 million. Scan that QR code on the screen or click in the link in our description below right now. We play it every single week. We're going to review the results later on this show today as well, but make sure you get it downloaded. Make sure it's on your phone. You've got to be over the age of 18, of course, but they are our match day sponsors today. And what an amazing game. And there's so much to break down in this. Spurs. Actually, I'm going to start with Spurs. I will start with Spurs. And I want to say this about Tottenham because I thought they were going to get battered today. I thought they'd concede 4, 5, 6 goals. I thought they'd score a goal, maybe 2, but I thought they'd hold a big defeat. And the game started off maybe not quite the way I thought. Spurs scored first. Man City equalised momentarily. And then chance after chance after chance after chance was missed. Then Foden scores. And then more chances were missed. Then the second half began, and a really good save from Vicario. And you looked at it and thought, you know what? Ange ball, he's open, he's still very expansive. Is this really going to work? Is this really sensible? And then he makes a change. I mean, Højbjerg had already come on at the start of the second half, and I think bringing Højbjerg on gave them more of a calmness to Tottenham. They're a bit more calculated in their decisions. The in-game management was there today from Big Ange Postecoglou. And I've had this argument with many people in the last few weeks. Your style of play isn't the same as your formation or your tactics to a particular game or your in-game management. These things should depend upon the scenario that you're in. And Big Ange adapted very, very well in the game to what Man City were doing. Man City also became very complacent in that match. And Spurs sniffed an opportunity. They essentially got through some real adversity, Tottenham. They got through this period where really and truly City should have scored 3, 4, 5. They should have gone in at halftime 3 or 4 goals clear, easy. But they didn't. And Spurs capitalized upon that. They made some adjustments to the way the team was set up. They made some adjustments to how they were playing. And they got themselves back into the game. Celso with another brilliant goal from him. I think that's 2 in 2 games now from that man who's, again, his career so far at Spurs has been pretty much non-existent up until this point. And then interestingly, that goal kind of really spurred City back into life. And they came back at Tottenham, and then Tottenham reverted back to the Tottenham in the first half. Bissouma especially, cutting into a group of 4 players around him, not keeping it simple, overcomplicating the situation, and they concede. Good goal from the counter press from Manchester City. Jack Grealish, who came on for the injured Doku, and I'll get onto that a little bit later, and that's it, game over. But Tottenham weren't done. City became a little bit complacent, and Spurs, they just went at it. They went at it. They knew they were still in this football match, and they did. And I want to credit them so much because all of Tottenham's goals were brilliant, well-worked goals, team goals. They were clinical today. They were clutch today. And I actually think, barring a spell in the first half of maybe 25 minutes where City should have put them to bed, this was probably the best performance of the last 4 games for me from by Tottenham. And when you consider it was away against Manchester City, I want to applaud, legitimately applaud Big Ange and his team today. They weren't perfect, no. Were there issues that you could focus on to improve? I think so. But sometimes I do believe as fans, and I do believe pundits, and I do believe journalists and ex-pros, we sometimes nitpick. When actually with Tottenham today, they adjusted in the game, the manager made changes, they slowed the play down at the right times, they didn't just go out gung-ho attack, and they kept themselves in the game. after maybe after probably maybe deserving to be out of it, but they were not. And that's the great thing about sport. You don't always get what you deserve. Sometimes you get more than you deserve. Sometimes you get less than you deserve. And in the end, I think Tottenham walking away with a point today is absolutely justified. Well done, Tottenham. Now, Hussam, by the way, called this, the only person who called this, straight facts, on Friday. He said Tottenham will get a draw. I couldn't see it personally. I didn't imagine that City would miss this abundance of chances. But they did, and Spurs stayed resolute, adjusted, as I've already mentioned. Now, when it comes to Manchester City, we have to have a conversation. So, of course, they're the best team in the world. And I don't think a few bad results, I don't think going 3 games without winning in the Premier League, which I believe is a mini crisis for Man City, I don't think that negates them being the best team in the world. They are. Because you look at a body of work over a period of time, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, nobody's been better than them. And they've just won a treble. But when you look at Manchester City, they conceded, I'm looking at this now, 3 goals today against Tottenham, 2 goals against Leipzig, 1 against Liverpool, 4 against Chelsea before the international break. Their last 4 games, they have shipped, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, I'll make sure my counting's right here. 5, 6, 7, 10 goals in their last 4 games. They're conceding. And there seems to be something missing. An edge, a desire maybe. Form at the very least seems to be poor right now. And I'm not suggesting they're not the favourites to win the league, but we need to have a conversation about what's going wrong right now. Because to go 3 games in the Premier League, and yes, they're against Chelsea, Liverpool and Tottenham, without winning is a problem for them. Because you've got Liverpool in the title race this year, Arsenal are in the title race this year, and Spurs fans today that have believed they're in the title race will be sitting there and saying, hang on, if we can hold out with these adjustments, if Big Ange is learning on the job, and we did that today away at the Etihad, maybe we can. Maybe we're a little bit better than we thought. City are under pressure right now. City are under big pressure. They sit 3rd in the league. They are 3 points off of Arsenal, and I know there's a long way to go. I understand there is a long way to go, but they don't look particularly brilliant right now. There's a cutting edge. There's an energy missing. And to think Spurs did that without Van de Ven, without Romero, without James Maddison, to do it without those 3 players, listen, absolutely phenomenal from Tottenham. No winning 3 now for Manchester City. Is there a mini crisis going on at them? And we're talking a crisis in the context of a title race. We're not talking about a Man United style crisis or a Leeds United being relegated a year or so after being in the Champions League semi-final crisis. We're not talking about a Portsmouth crisis where they nearly go out of business. We're talking about the context of a title race. Let me just say that for all the idiots in the back that will get offended by it. But for me, today, what we saw was Tottenham growing. We saw Tottenham developing in the game. The Tottenham in the second half, more of that. And that was a massive well done to Big Ange. And when it comes to Manchester City, what's wrong with them at the moment? Why are they leaking so many goals? They've got the majority of their first team out there. They have got a squad of available players worth over £1 billion, the best goalkeeper in the league, in their opinion, the best right back ever, in their opinion. They've got the likes of Akanji and Diaz, who are world-class in their opinion. Rodri, who's world-class in their opinion. They have Doku and Grealish. They have Haaland. They have Alvarez. There are no excuses for going 3 games without winning, and definitely no excuses for conceding 10 goals in the last 4 games when you're the best team in the world. Do me a favor and hit the like button, people. Make sure you're subscribing. If you haven't done so yet, get Golden Goals downloaded. Tomorrow, we're going to be previewing on that game the midweek games, game week 15 in the Premier League, where you've got a chance of winning £2 million. It's free to play every time you play it. It's free to download the app. You don't even need to deposit any money on the app to play. It's completely free at all times. So get that downloaded now, or scan the QR code, save it to after the stream, and get it sorted out. I'm going to go to the super chats in a minute because I really want to gauge, I really want to understand your opinion. I want to garnish the show with what you think and what you feel. But I'm so excited today. What amazing football we have seen from Chelsea, from Liverpool, from City and Tottenham today. It's been an absolutely barnstorming, epic, absolutely tip-top, mustard Sunday afternoon of Premier League. It's why it's the best league in the world. It's the best league in the world for so many. Some say it's only because it's the best marketed league. I don't care. Best marketed, best league, best play. It's just the best. It's absolutely tip-top class. I want to say this as well because I know I'll get a lot of stick from City fans if I don't. There is one big question that does need to be answered in this game. Were Man City robbed at the end? Were they robbed at the end of the game? Haaland was fouled. Referee doesn't blow the whistle. Haaland stays on his feet, plays a ball over the top. Jack Grealish, looking at the replays, was onside, running clean through on goal. The referee blew the whistle. Got two answers to this. The first answer is yes. That was an absolute disastrous mistake from the referee, who I think in the moment just had a brain fart and blew the whistle. Maybe he felt that Grealish was offside. Maybe he didn't see Grealish and just thought it was a ball it over the top and going to nobody. I think he's made a mistake. Absolutely. So for me, 100%, I will turn around and say that's a mistake by the referee towards Manchester City. Doesn't mean Jack Grealish scores. Doesn't have a great goal scoring record at City. But I definitely think they were robbed at the opportunity of trying to win the game at the end. That should have been given. That game should have been allowed to play on. That was a mistake. What I would say, though, is this. I have seen Man City benefit so much from bad decisions in the last 2 to 3 years. A 40-yard offside, the handball, Rodri against Everton are two that just stand out to me. The penalty they've been given against Man United this year. And what I would say, every time they've benefited from it, barring some of the City fans in my comment section now, the likes of Leng and Sweet, as an example, that will always say we got lucky today, I just see them laugh and say, well, focus. City fans always say to me, why focus on refereeing decisions? Just focus on your team being better. So myself, Terry Flewers, I think you were robbed of a chance to try and win today. You should have been allowed through on goal, 100%. The Man United fan in me, that me playing devil's advocate, is I thought refereeing decisions shouldn't be discussed. That is what every Man City fan on my panel has ever said. So I'm intrigued to know what City fans think about that themselves based on their own standard of we don't complain about referees. I think you were robbed. I think you've got every right to complain about it. But I want to get your view and I want to get your opinion on that, people. Panel coming soon. We've got Harry. We've got Reese coming on. I'm not too sure who else KJ has shared the link with, to be fair. I don't even know if it's been shared at all. If I'm being honest with you, I'm sure he has done it as our KJ. Yeah, he has. He's put it into the match reaction group and a few others as well. I'm going to forward it into the group, the Football Terrace groups as well, just so in case anyone's in there and they want to jump on and have their say, etc., etc., etc. Where's the top 6 group? Why can't I say? Oh, there's a top 6 group. Top 6 group. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Let's go to these super chats here. Before we forget, Liverpool would be top of the Prem if not robbed at Spurs. Yeah, look, I think I understand why you would say that. I understand why that would go through your minds, and that's why we've all got to call it out. What I would say to you, my friend, and I'm not accusing you personally, but the only do you that energy for Man United and Wolves that have been robbed this year? Like, I want to see it for everybody or not at all. I know we drew, but that referee is an absolute disgrace. That was a horrible mistake. It absolutely was a horrible mistake, Jerome. You're so spot on. It really, really was. It was terrible. Della Spurs here says, I will take that. Kulu owns Manchester City. Of course you'll take it. Of course you will. My brother here, Jerome, says, also, Man City, massive mistake was they took pity on us and went to sleep at 2-1. And yes, they bottled it. Bissouma was absolutely awful today. So I thought Bissouma was quite good other than that mistake. And I know a mistake can mar how everybody views your game. City, I don't think, took it easy on you. City did this against Liverpool. City went asleep. City became complacent. City thought it was done. The fans didn't help. It was like a morgue in there today. All these things play a big, big part. They really do. I honestly feel like I don't watch City games without bias in my mind. If this was Arsenal, your next 5 videos would be about them being robbed. And as I've already said, my friend, I know you super chatted before I said it, but I do think they've been robbed of an opportunity to score here. That was a long way out. Grealish doesn't have a good goal scoring record, but they should have been allowed that opportunity to score. And it was horrendous, that decision. And I get it. And I think City fans should call it out. I agree with you. Absolutely. Let's see what the referees have got to say for themselves on it. They won't get an apology from PGMOL because it wasn't a VAR decision, but they should have to say something. City are not good people. Wake up. United are 6 points off of them. Arsenal can win this league. I need Klopp to stop them. If Pep ain't serious now, bogey team. Listen, being only 6 points ahead of Man United is embarrassing for anyone who spent like what City have spent, because we're dog poo. What was it, Terry? 5-1 you said? Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, listen, my prediction was wrong. If City finished their dinner, and listen, Haaland missing 2 open goals, they hit the post twice. They should have battered you, but they didn't. And then you guys changed. You changed. You came back into it, and fair play to Tottenham. That's football for you. Every eventful day of football, so many goals and excitement. It was absolutely crazy. Jerome here says, sorry, Terry, I disagree. The same thing was said about City last season. Come January, they went on a crazy run. But I know the same thing was said about them last year. The one thing I feel is a little bit different is the crowd as well. It doesn't seem, it's almost, and Gary Neville said it in the game, and I related to it when Man United were brilliant. It's almost like these games at the moment don't mean as much to the players because they're played in much higher level stakes. And sometimes that can creep in, especially after winning 2 or 3 titles on the bounce, especially after winning a Champions League. Gary Neville understands this because he's been part of teams that have done it. He's been part of teams that have done 3-peats, and then the next year, there's a little something missing. And you can't quite put your finger on it because a lot of the time it's subconscious. But listen, they're still the favourites to win the league. I agree with that. A 3-team title race helps Arsenal and Liverpool, the chasers, but a 3-team title race hurts City's defenders. Crazy prospect this season. Yeah, this season's going to be out of this world. It already is. It's going to get even better. Man City fans need to open their eyes. Arsenal have beaten them twice this year, even with KDB playing. I can't wait for the Gunners and City at full strength. We've been telling people they will be shocked. Listen, I think that I look at this and think from a Spurs point of view, imagine it with your better players today as well. Cal here, one of our long-standing members in Superchats, says, genuinely love Ange more than some family members at this point. Begging he gets every penny handed to him for the next 3 or 4 windows without hesitation. Great point. What a sloppy game. Awful from these teams. A sloppy game. There was a few mistakes, but it was a brilliant game. Lol, after faking injury during the international break. Are you talking about Haaland there? You're talking about Haaland there. Evening, Terry. If City continues dropping points, Liverpool and Arsenal keep winning, they will have to chase 2 teams down. This race is open. That's also the difference as well, to Jerome's point. Chasing 2 teams down is very different to chasing 1. Because the probability changes everything. It isn't 1 team you've got to catch and leapfrog. You need 2 to mess up. And listen, they've got to go away to Aston Villa next without Rodri and without Jack Grealish and maybe without Doku because he's injured. Take Doku and Grealish and Rodri out of their team against Villa away from home. It is not inconceivable that they don't win that game. I'm not saying lose, but it is not inconceivable that they don't win. It really isn't. For rivals, banter celebrating a draw. We have no centre-backs in the game. The boys played their socks off and fought through horrible mistakes. Listen, anyone bantering Spurs for celebrating this draw, I'm going to say it bluntly, is an idiot. Spurs should celebrate tonight. If you drink, have a few sherbets. Do you know what I'm saying? If you don't, go and have a nice meal. Whatever it is, you should be celebrating tonight because it was an absolutely brilliant, brilliant result for Tottenham. Their fans should be over the moon because you did it against all odds. Even most Tottenham fans I know that love their club and love Ange were predicting 4-1 defeats, 4-2 defeats because and it nearly happened. But to walk away with 3 points, with 3 goals, get a point after you were losing in the 90th minute. Of course, Spurs fans should celebrate. Anybody that's denying that, I just say this, like, screw the goddamn celebration police, idiots. For Spurs, they look good if you like basketball, football, but they won't win anything. 1 thin squad, two suicidal high line. Pray for injured players to return. I don't think they'll win anything now, Spurs, but if they buy the right, they improve their squad, they absolutely could. No Rodri for the Villa game. Hey, listen, if they go 4 games without a win, who have everybody else got in those games? Just look at the league table here. I've got it up here for us. I need to just turn this bit here off, right? Let's have a little look here. So again, this is what's interesting. Arsenal play Luton. That's 3 points. Liverpool play Sheffield United. That's 3 points. City go away to Aston Villa with no Rodri, no Grealish, maybe no Doku. If they don't win that, suddenly they could be 6 points off the top. They could be 4 points off a second. It's a different proposition. By the way, Spurs are at home to West Ham. Win that, and City failed to win. Spurs can go back into third. City could drop down. City could end up dropping down to fifth. Then they've got to get over 4 teams. Changes the dynamic when everybody else improves. This is why I've said to a lot of people, I understand this City team, one of the greatest English teams of all time. Liverpool, brilliant team. But it's one of the best era we ever had in the Premier League was sort of 03, 04, right through into around 2013. Because you had 4 teams every single year who had the quality to win the Champions League. When was the last time we had that in England where 4 teams genuinely could win it, as looked at as top favourites? That's how good our league was. That's how hard it was to win the league. We've gone through many years. You've had 1 or 2 brilliant teams, and everybody else was pretty meaty. How do we know that? Because how they were performing outside the Premier League as well. It's massive. Cal here says something about Johnson too. Defo a player. Listen, I thought that was an average signing. Yeah, he looks dangerous. And that speed he has, he's so quick. I smell a Howard Webb apology incoming. They could definitely end up getting that, City. Regardless who it is, it must be called out. Awful. Yeah, the refereeing decision at the end was terrible. It was. As a City fan, I'm disappointed that we scored 3 goals and the fact that we had so many chances to finish the game. So I am not going to complain about the ref. Fair play, Zane. Off the pitch story affecting performance, FFP. I don't know. When that got released last year in the February, this year in the February, until the end of the season, they were amazing. So no, I don't think so, my friend. I don't think so. Tonight we will be a great match of the day. It will be. I'm not watching it though because I'll be showing repeats of yesterday for United. Arsenal fans can come here and gloat, but they know 1 injury to Saliba and it's over. Interesting point there, my bro. Indictment of my manager, Eric Ten Hag. Spurs can get a draw. Yeah, it tells you injury again because they got away with a few bits today, Tottenham, and then they adjusted. And when you adjust, you can cope with injuries. As a Man United fan, I need Arsenal to win the league, is what Andre says. City don't look the same as previous years. No hunger, is what Sarim Iqbal says here. A Liverpool fan who's gone toe-to-toe with them. City's problems: 1 injury, 2 Alvarez's position, 3 Walker's position, 4 defenders out of form, 5 new players not gelled, 6 Pep's stubbornness. That's an interesting one there. What do you all think about that? Super chat? Let me know, people. City can win 10 games on the trot. Oh, we know they can. Of course they can. Absolutely possible that they do that. Do you see the Dynamo magic tricks on Sky Sports? Michael Richards asked him if he could make Man City's charges disappear. No, I haven't seen that. I'm going to watch it. Dynamo back. I love Dynamo. I'm being shameless. We broke Man City. UTC. I understand. I don't know what that means. We showed City can be got at. I don't quite know what that means. I'm just dumb. Someone's probably writing in the comments now. What does that mean? What does UTC mean? Help this old man out. What does UTC mean, my people? Up the Chelsea. Right, there we go. There we go. Get it now. Of course, Spuds love Ange more than their family members because their families disown them the moment they ask Santa for a Spurs shirt. I hear you on that. Right, I'm bringing the panel out now. We've got Orchie, we've got Reece, we've got Harry. Patrick was backstage. I don't know where Patrick has gone. Get yourself back, Patty. We've got Reece here, we've got Harry here, we've got Orchie here. Boys, welcome back to the show. Reece, what a performance to turn that around and to walk away with a point, and you know, it's a real hope moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. In the next games, like if we can play like the second half, like we could definitely start maybe getting on a run of form, especially with the injured players out. And by the time the players come back, we could really kick on. But with the performance, I think the first half like was a bit shaky, like the defense. But I saw a comment about Bissouma being awful, and I completely agree. I don't think he was very good today. I think we rode our luck in that first half. You saw it; they hit the post twice. And yeah, look, like I said, we could really like pick up a run here. Like we've got West Ham next; they're a beatable team at home as well. So look, I'm excited. We just need our players back, and then we can really kick on.
I hear you on that. And Orchi, I wanted to ask you about the your manager today. He really made some changes in that second half that made it harder to break you down, bringing on Højbjerg, which gave you a much better foundation to spring into the attack from. Do you think that was key to walking away with a positive result today?
Yeah, I think he needed to make some changes because, as you were saying, I think the second half of the first half, we were definitely under the cosh, and I think we were lucky to go 2-1 down. I still couldn't believe it. I thought to myself, well, technically speaking, we were still in the game, being only 2-1 down. But City could have, that half could have ended 3-1, 4-1, to City. So I think he had to do something. And even then, I think Højbjerg actually had quite a shaky start. I was really livid with him. Like immediately at the start of the second half, he gave the ball away twice and City nearly scored from both of those chances. But then after that, he started to settle down a bit more and he definitely finished the half a lot more stronger. But again, obviously I was in the chat as well, in the WhatsApp chat, Terry. And again, some of the guys were getting a bit, they were criticizing Ange for being naive, for again, sticking to his principles. And I cannot disagree more. I think if, let's say, he went with a system today where he parked the bus, he, basically put 9 men behind the ball, with the quality that, you've pretty much given up before a ball is being kicked already. And the chance that with the quality that City have, they would have picked us apart and potentially we could have lost this match 4-5-0. But I like the fact that, no matter what it is, and I think, and every interview that he has, he always comes out and says, look, whoever's in the team, I'm trying to create a team that plays a certain way. So he wants the players to play in this type of system, in this type of attacking football. And obviously where we fail, where we lose games, we lose them. But that just goes to show, in certain areas, we need a lot more depth. Obviously today and in the last couple of games, we've been playing without actual official centre-backs. So clearly the club need to back him, and they need to back him, and they can't make the same mistakes as before. They need to whoever Ange needs for this system, for this type of football, and the level of quality like Van der Ven, like Maddison. These are the kind of players that they need to bring in. We need at least 2 centre backs, probably another good quality midfielder or a winger, or even a goal scorer in January to even have a chance of challenging for the top 4. I'm talking about top 4, by the way, not the title. Top 4, because Tottenham need to finish in these European places to kind of help kick onto that next level come the summertime. Obviously, January players are at a premium. You're not always going to get your first choice players, but we need to give ourselves a good chance in the summer to get the type of players so that because you can clearly see, like at the start of the season when we had our best 11, you saw what Ange was capable of. But with the injuries, we've been decimated.
Totally agree. I want to say about match range. I want to try and just keep. It's not an dig at you. I want to try and keep the answers a little bit shorter, as we can go around different points, and we'll come back to those points later. Just trying to keep it on topic. Harry, from your point of view as well, how impressed were you with Ange's approach to the game today, brother?
I mean, to be real, I thought we were going to win. I predicted 3-1. Obviously, I'm known for outrageous comments. But I genuinely did, bro. And then as the game was going on, I believe more and more. It was a sign from the universe when Haaland missed that shot. When that miss was there, I was like, okay, I know we're getting a result. And then at the end, I just want to say one thing, and I was going to say it last weekend, but then we lost to Villa, so I didn't say it. Kate wants to chat shit about Celso. Where is she? Do you know what I mean? That player hasn't started a game of football for us for ages. 2 games, 2 starts, 2 goals. You know what I mean? And I also want to say as well, this is something to think about. Yes, I don't think we're going to win the league anymore. I do not believe that. But what I will say is this. Top 4 is possible. Like you said, we got West Ham next. Look at how well we done today. I know, you could say what you want about Simon Hooper's decision at the end. But realistically speaking, we had 2 fullbacks in centre-back, as we did last weekend, and we lost that game. We played the best team in the world just now, and we got a result out of it. What I want to say is, imagine what we're going to be like when we have Madders back. Sarbak, etc., Van der Ven, Romero. Imagine what we're going to be like. This season is now looking completely different to what it did a couple of weeks ago. Do you know what I mean?
I understand where you're coming from there, and I totally get that. We are going to talk more Tottenham on here. V's with us, obviously a City fan. V, that's 3 games without a win in the Premier League. It's 10 goals conceded in 4 games. You're now going to be missing Doku, Grealish, and Rodri for the game away at Aston Villa. Why have City been so poor in their last few games and failing to win? What is Pep getting wrong in your opinion?
First, let me say this: great game from the Spurs. Yeah, went right down to the minute. I can't really say whether it's Pep getting things wrong. It's these players are they're lacking concentration. Like what I'm seeing defensively in the midfield as well as on the defensive line has just been really poor. Sorry for the noise in the background. And I can't really chalk it up to Pep because I think he's giving them the instructions. I think the players themselves are falling a little short. And I have to say this, and Terry, you know this. It's incredibly difficult, I think, to pursue a 4-peat after a treble. And I think some of these players just they're not up for the races in moments within the game. And we need to fix that. We need to fix it quick. I'm not saying that players need to be dropped or players need to go, but their mentality needs to change, and they need to be sharp from minute 1 to the final minute. The way we're giving up goals is extremely poor. And I'll also say this: no one wants to hear this. We're Manchester City. We spend how we spend, but the injuries that we've had to kind of deal with, I think that's what's coming back to bite us. Whether you want to criticize whether we got the right players in the summer or not, that's really costed us. Because if we're pursuing this 4-peat, if we're getting the best effort from these teams week after week, we need to match the intensity at the very least. And,
bro, you're talking about injuries. Sorry, you're talking about injuries, bro. Have you not seen how many injuries we've had recently? You know what I mean?
Terry asked me about our run of games right now, so I'm answering Terry's question. I'm not questioning. I said you guys had a good game. I did not beat you guys up at all. I'm just pointing out what's happening with City. Just say that.
V, what players is it that's missing that you think's stopping you from, 6 points dropped in 3 games? What players is it that you think you're really missing from this squad?
I'm missing the coverage in the midfield. I can't have to depend on Rodri and Silva every game. Like that can't be my midfield. I need to be able to give those guys a rest or give those guys different instructions instead of having to play an entire 90. So the signing of Kovacic, the signing of Nunes, those were supposed to be the differences. I'm not saying that those guys they're going to start the majority of the games, but they were at least needed to be able to get onto the pitch. And in particular, not to go too far back, but not to be able to go and get subs within the midfield like we needed versus Liverpool. It's poor. It's extremely poor. I know we're a different team fully healthy, but right now we need to fix up because those bodies aren't available. So players need to step up and deliver. I think it's the midfield. Everywhere else I'm calm with.
What about players like Mahrez and Gundogan? I don't think City looked the same without those players.
They're incredible. Yeah, they're incredible players. There's no way we would look the same.
Yeah.
We lost our captain in Gundogan. Like, there's no replacing him. We tried our best to extend his contract to have him stay, but I believe we wanted 1, he wanted 2, or he wanted 2, he wanted 3, we wanted 2. I forget what it went. But losing him, there's no replacing him. And Mahrez is missed in the sense of the man was quality. The man was absolute quality and class, regardless of how many minutes he played, regardless of how many games consecutively played. So yeah, he's missed, but it's not the wing play. It's in the midfield. And Gundogan, I would agree with you. We need to replace him in a way of coverage, not necessarily quality for quality.
And KDB's out, obviously.
KDB out and everything else. And I do get it. And all teams go through this, but I agree with you massively, V. And Gary Neville talking about it isn't digging City out. He's won a treble and a 3-peat. They just did it the other way around. The treble season was the beginning of it.
Yeah.
He knows that feeling and that atmosphere in the ground where there is something missing, and it's very hard to put your finger on it unless
Terry,
your club has been that successful, which only like in living memory, only Liverpool in the 70s and Man United in the 90s and you guys ever done it. So another fan base actually can relate to what that feeling is. But it does feel like watching you, even if it's 5% in the Premier League, if you lose 5% of your hunger, that little difference can bring 3 or 4 teams up really close to your level.
and again, I see, as much as I've had to watch the success of United over the years, I'm firsthand seeing it now, right? I'm seeing how when you've won that treble, and even before that, when you've won so often, you get everyone's best game, right? And I kind of wish last season, that's gonna sound crazy, if we were pursuing a treble after a three-peat, it'd be really different because we wouldn't have had that trophy yet. There still would have been more to go on and get. Having won this treble and then trying to go back into that bag, get these players to play hard from jump, like play hard in December, knowing that the season's going to go right down to May. That's the tough part. And I believe Pep can do it. He just hasn't tapped into those players yet. And the fact that we have these suspensions going into Villa, these are worry settings. These are worry settings right now because we're having key guys missing for that game.
Well, you theoretically could be 6 points behind Arsenal at the top, who play Luton, and 4 points, behind Liverpool that play Sheffield United. So suddenly you've got 2 teams with more than a win gap over you that you've got to then overtake and hope both of them have worse form than you. It starts to become a little trickier than just chasing down a young, naive Arsenal team like last season.
Yeah, I don't know where Arsenal are dropping points, and Liverpool versus Sheffield United, if they're not impacting their goal differential like most teams have, then I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, I can't focus on them. I know that we need to fix up and get wins, not these draws.
I totally get you. Stay with us though, mate. So there's lots more to talk about on the show. We've got super chats to come very soon. Make sure Golden Goals is downloaded, people. A lot of you are scanning the QR code right now, which is amazing. So let's get that done. Alan's here with us today. A game that most people thought that you were going to lose. I think even most Spurs fans felt it was going to be hard for you today, but your team stepped up. They made themselves be counted. But I wanted to ask you about the likes of Kulusevski, Son this year as examples of Celso. Players last year that had really poor seasons, especially from an outputs point of view, maybe not so much Son, but really stepping up for you this campaign. And they just look absolutely at home playing this more expansive and attacking football.
Look, I'll even throw Son in there last season. I thought Son was absolutely awful. Well off the pace, not scoring. Like, he goes in the same bunch of them. But this is, for me, why I back Ange, because he's getting a tune out of these players that weren't performing, the attacking football. Literally, everyone's like wanting to be part of that. And it's just it's a joy to see. Even with all the injuries and suspensions we've got, apart from the Wolves game, the performances have been there. We did take our chances last time. We took our chances this time. And football happens in a weird way that Man City didn't take their chances. But this is what I'm going to sit here and say now. I'm not going to go and say that this changed our season like Harry did, but he's welcome to his opinion. I'll be honest, if the Spurs board get this right with this manager and allow him to do what he wants to do, back him properly and give him what he wants to play as he wants, none of this silly club buyers or stuff like that, I reckon in 2 or 3 seasons, he's won us a trophy and we are challenging for the league title on a consistent basis. I believe in him that much for the attacking football. Look how we played today with Celso, who's played 2 good performances before today. You've got Højbjerg, who's not good enough. Brian Hill, who was like a chihuahua on that pitch. Kyle Walker was just literally palming him off and he was doing nothing. We've got so many bad players to that club, and the football we're playing, with the injuries and suspensions we've got, it is going to be good for Spurs in 2 or 3 years if the club finally get it right and back a manager. We will have to wait and see. Bissouma, I don't know what happened to him today. He's literally, I thought he was playing so badly because he was worried about suspensions. He was awful today, giving away the ball. If Spurs hadn't have been the architect of their own downfall, we would have beat City with all the injuries now. Look, Avate done a preview with me on my channel, and I said this. For some reason, Man City can't get over Spurs. Literally, it's every single time we play, more often than not, it's like they're... Look, people throw it out there. Man City, for some reason, seems to be our side chick on the pitch. Every single time we get results against them, draws when we're not meant to, wins and all that. It's just me being absolutely honest. For some reason, Man City do go Spursy when they play us, and it's good to see. But did anyone expect us to get a result out of them this weekend? No, people in the comments absolutely contradicting themselves now. Spurs are going to get absolutely slaughtered and now going, oh, yeah, we believe in Spurs and all that. Just, it's not the case. I think Spurs playing out from the back, even against teams like Man City with the press and doing it time and time again, is breeding the team to this is how we play. When we have bad players come in, we're not shying away from how we play. We're literally playing the same way. So Ange is saying whether it's the people who aren't good enough or people who are like in the squad compared to people coming in, this is how we are going to play. And for me, that is just going to instill confidence with players in there, players on the cusp, players coming in. They know how they're going to play. They know it's exciting football. They know it's attacking football. And it's what I think will draw players to Ange and to this team. But again, Ange has set the team up to play the football he wants to play. And he's had success. And we're going to do this. If it weren't for these injuries and that, Spurs wouldn't be as far off the table. Like I said, apart from the Wolves game, the performances have been there. We've had that. We should have put Villa to bed. We didn't. We definitely should have put Man City to bed because we had chances to win it as well. They did as well, but you weren't taking yours. We should have put you to bed. I think Ange, although I'm praising him, I will balance it. Ange made a mistake today, taking Lo Celso off the skip, gave Man City the impetus to get that third goal. If it weren't for that, Spurs would have won that game 3-2, like I predicted on X before the game even kicked, before a ball was kicked. Ange, I think, needs to realise he doesn't have to always make a defensive sub when we're in a game. I think you can criticise him, but overall, the football's good, the attitude's good, the mentality's good. Players are performing that they should do. We still have Dross that we have to get out of the club that aren't going to be good enough for Spurs. But this board, get these people correct, get the next January transfer window and the summer correctly, and in 2-3 years, you see Spurs winning trophies and challenging on a consistent basis.
I totally get that. There's lots of super chats to jump into that I'm going to do. We're going to focus on, guys. We haven't forgotten. There's about 20 of them we're going to do. We haven't forgotten about you watching. I did want to ask about another incident in this game, though, and I want to reflect to Samuel first, who's kind of a neutral to today's game. Did the referee make a big mistake in your opinion? Were City robbed of an opportunity to win the game at the end by blowing up for a foul when Jack Grealish was through on goal? How big a mistake do you think that is from the referee?
That was a howler, an absolute howler. Like Tottenham fans, any other fans, like you watch that, and I was watching the replay, and it's like Simon Hooper allowed he had his hand up to allow the advantage, and it's like as soon as Grealish went through, he blew his whistle, and it was just like, what? Now, obviously, I'm happy because Man City have dropped points, but if I'm going to be objective, that was a howler. How do you like? You should have just let it go. It's an advantage. Just let it go. And Man City have every right to be angry about that, to be fair. So, yeah, it's a howler.
How about from a Spurs fan's point of view, Reece, as an example, do you feel like you've got away with one there?
Yeah, maybe. I actually thought originally that Grealish was offside. That's why I thought he didn't see an advantage. That's why he pulled it back. But obviously, the replay showed that he was onside. There's not much to say. Like, it just is a bit of a stinker from him, innit? Like, we got away with one. I think whoever was running back, I reckon they would have took the red as well and brought him down. That's just my opinion, just because of the emotion of the game. But yeah, we got away with one. It doesn't mean he was going to score it either. But yeah.
I hear you on that. V, how about yourself? I know City fans don't like to call out refereeing decisions, but
Terry, you know us well. You know us very well. We don't call out the refs like that. But I almost threw the remote at the TV. I can't lie. I was watching the ref, and as he extended his hand play through, I was like, okay, let's see what happens here. And I get why the players, even Haaland, he was irate. He was still, even when the final whistle was blown. But to go back to early in the game, and Alan, you know what, Alan, you guys should have won is how you see this. I can't believe this, but Haaland missing that open early, Doku hitting the crossbar post. This game was that close, and I think both teams showed that they were going for it, and we're going to continue to get teams playing like that. But I think we score one of those, it's different. I don't think that Ange would change his attacking style, but in terms of like settling down, because we were looking to get a lot more comfortable in that game after giving those goals, after those goals happened so early in the game. But man, it's a what if with regards to this non-call for the ref. Whether we get an apology or whatever they say, I don't care. My focus is, and I don't want this non-call to paper over any cracks. We were not good today. We were not good at home, I think, for the second time, and we can't keep doing this.
I hear you on that, and well said. We've got some super chats here I want to do and get people's views and opinions on. Jerome here says, I don't want to be negative again, but is it so much for us to, but it is so much like us to draw against City and then lose against West Ham. But I think it's when you get results like today, you can't. I know your manager just come in. I know he's installing a philosophy into your football club. But if you can create a situation where you get a draw away at the Etihad, you can't lose to West Ham at home. That's criminal. Because I still think even with your injuries, you're a better team than West Ham, personally. So there we go. This says, as a United fan, it hurts to see other teams giving their all, while some of our players lack commitment. Still, what a game. Yeah, it is painful to watch. I watch with such envy, but I just don't let the envy cloud my opinion because that would be horrible. They shouldn't have excuses, Terry. The ref made a huge error, but if they weren't sloppy defensively and scored their chances, it wouldn't matter. But this is true. I think refereeing decisions should be called out irrespective. I don't think you should just put them into a vacuum and say, that's it, City were robbed. They couldn't have done anything to change the game themselves, but I hear you. Being an Arsenal fan, I am a little nervous to say that this is going to be Arsenal's to give away. League is so unpredictable. Game management by Mikel is good, but players need to kill off games. Spurs fans, are you a little concerned, though, that you've given a big advantage, it's potentially a big advantage to Arsenal here?
No.
Or is that no concern of yours at all?
No one there.
Look, at the end of the day, yeah, Man City have had a bad run of results and they're behind pretty much what they were behind last season. Arsenal bottled it last season and bottled it again this season. Man City will win the league.
Exactly.
There we go. Jerome here says, Ange is inserting a philosophy in the club. Of course, he is not going to change his style for no one. We clearly need reinforcements in January. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys find that fair. I think it's just learning how to manage in the Premier League you need to do rather than adjust. It's adjustments, not change. And I think that's what needs to happen. This comes from Terrace, who says, a Liverpool fan here. With Ange ball, it's high risk, high reward, and it worked today. Rakesh, who's a Gooner, says, I'm an Arsenal fan. I agree. Arteta needs the players fitting into his system. It will take 2 to 3 windows to get there. Spurs do have the hunger, and I believe will make the top 4. Are you all confident that top 4 is well on for you guys, irrespective of these injuries?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Obviously, we all know what I said the other week, but looking at it now, it's turning around. I can see it, Terry. I think we can all see it. Even Alan is saying there's positives. The next few years, we're going to win trophies.
Even Alan.
Even Alan.
I think it depends.
Like a whole new man
on,
today. Do you know what I mean?
I think it depends on when some of these players like Van der Ven and Maddison is going to come back, and also what we do in the January window. I think that is definitely key because we clearly need some backup. Because I agree with Alan as well. It was in the last couple of games he's been taking Lo Celso off, and every time he does, it annoys me so much. But then I kind of understand it because if Lo Celso goes and gets injured, then we're even more effed, if you know what I mean. So I think he's trying to kind of manage that situation there. But we definitely need reinforcements because players like, as much as, I know they've been there for a while, but with players like Royale, Davies, even Højbjerg, again, I'm with Alan on that. I'm not a big fan of Højbjerg. I think he really slows down the game. He's always like either passing to the side or to the back usually. Yeah, in some games he ends up scoring or he ends up giving a really pinpoint pass, but that's usually the exception, not the rule for him. He's usually a very kind of negative player, in my opinion. So we definitely need to, if we can get some depth in that team, once the first 11 is, majority of the first 11 is back, if we can get some really good quality players to the level of the Van der Vens and the Maddisons of this world, if we can get 3 or 4 more of such quality players, I think then Spurs have got a chance to. I think the first step is to be again challenging for the top 4 every single season. I'm talking about for like the remainder of this season and even next season, then if we can, again, as some of the guys have been saying, if we can then get the transfers right for the next 2 to 3 windows, then that's when I will start entertaining us maybe being title challengers. Maybe
I think you're right. That squad's got to be built. You're spot on.
Yeah.
You look at City today. Doku's injured. They bring on Grealish, and everyone's got to try to a degree to try and get to that point where you're bringing on a player where you go. And when Man United were great, we had this. Liverpool have had this when they've been a brilliant team. Arsenal when they were great. City, Chelsea when they were great. You get an injury or two, and you're not worried about who's coming in. That's when you know your squad's in good shape. Agree. Pep has not got anything wrong. Players will need to pick up a bit. As an Arsenal fan, I hope it does not happen, is what Rakesh says here, towards what V was saying. All for results, but Spurs still have one from the last 12 points available.
All for the results, but Spurs still have 1 or 2 out of 12 points. This is true, but we also had ridiculous amount of injuries with a team. With Spurs have got an 11. We haven't got a squad because it's new under Ange. This is why I said, and this is what I see all the fans literally putting in the comments who can't understand a single sentence that's performed on this. I'll do it again. It's me being honest. Spurs are starting from scratch with Ange. We're building to a team. You need 2 or 3 transfer windows or 2 or 3 seasons to build. Arsenal had that after season 3 or 4. They kicked into gear. Look what they're doing now. They're up there challenging on a consistent basis. Last season, this season, it's what Spurs will be doing. But our board has to get it right. They have to give the funds. They have to be able to back and give Ange the players he wants to develop a squad over time. Harry went early this season that we can win it. That's not where I sit. I give praise because I see the idea behind the way we're playing. Plus that, again, people in the comments still can't understand things. In 2 or 3 years, for me, Spurs, if we continue doing the right things and getting the right people in for Ange, Spurs can be challenging in 2 or 3 seasons because that's how long it's going to take to build.
Yeah,
we're not doing it in 2 transfer windows.
I hear, and I think that's why we also said earlier it's now important for Spurs to go and beat West Ham because then it's growing on these results, which is going to be absolutely key. When we take the lead, especially the last 20 minutes, I think we can just sit back. And that's what when teams are most dangerous. Big up V. And also, how can I call you guys more City fans? Do you know what? Next show, we'll open up the call lines. No problem at all, my friend.
Hard to find.
Sorry, bro.
It's hard to find City fans, obviously. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Imagine if City signed Rice. I mean, yeah, it's why they went for him. So is Pep at fault? Why not play Nunes? Give him a chance.
Nunes wasn't even on the bench today. Kovacic obviously came on late. It's that. Listen, there's time for these players to get into the form, get into what's asked of them, and I don't doubt that they will. That they're not available now, but it has nothing to do with that. Even the players that started today, they weren't consistent enough. And I'll say this because I'm gonna have to drop off, Terry. But I said that this was going to be the most difficult season to win the title, and I think it's across the board, not just for City, but for Arsenal and Liverpool. The way those 2 teams, the way they spent in this offseason, it's going to be a fight. And look at the amount of goals that were scored this past weekend, right? Like Fulham went after Liverpool. That wasn't an easy game for them. This wasn't an easy game for us. I think it's going to be a huge fight. To remain at the top, Terry, is difficult to do. You've got Liverpool that have only won 1. They want that second one. You got Arsenal that have been hungry, starving, and they want it really bad. So, man, we got to fix up if we're going to be able to do our thing.
I hear you, and I hear you. Go on,
sorry,
Alan.
Before Vader goes, sorry, Vader, Nunes was playing. Darwin Nunes missed that open goal, didn't he, today? Oh, no, sorry. Sorry.
Cheers, V. Top man, bro. Thank you. The biggest miss today was that haircut of his. It was a madness, bruv. I told City fans they would miss Riyad Mahrez, 15 goals again off the bench. Massive player. And listen, there's another super chat here that says something similar. That's, Gundogan and Mahrez leaving. Yeah. All these things play a part. KDB being out. It impacts everybody. It's hard to replace that level of quality. So I think all these things will play a factor. Imagine if City had signed Rice instead of Arsenal. I mean, he's been yeah, listen, it would have changed everything. Ibi here says, great game to watch. If City got Rice, they would have walked the league, in my opinion. Thankfully, we got him. I cannot rely on Rodri all the time to cover defensively. especially when he's up against decent midfields. After Luton, Arsenal have Villa and Liverpool. We might drop points. Thank you, Spurs, for giving Arsenal and Liverpool a rest. Arsenal need to beat Luton on Tuesday. Well, this is it. If Arsenal beat Luton and then lose to Villa, lose to Liverpool, then suddenly it's worrying. Beat Villa, beat Liverpool, just putting it out there. Suddenly then Arsenal will find themselves in a very, very, very different situation altogether. City missed chances after chances. You should be complaining about that, not the ref. That's to the Manchester City fans saying it. Igao is here with us now on the show.
There you are. I've been waiting.
This says also, I thought something Spurs. I don't know what I was meant to say. Thought Spurs ran out away with the league. Okay. Yo swore that Spurs were title contenders. What happened? Always stay humble. That's only Harry, to be fair. It's only Harry on this panel that said that. And young Daniel. Yeah, I think young Daniel's away at the minute. I think he's in Puerto Rico. He says he's got bad Wi-Fi. Spurs are City's kryptonite. It's true. Dude, hold your manager accountable. Anyone sees the flaws in this formation, especially with Walker and Alvarez. He has cost you in big games. Interesting take. Spurs didn't deserve a point today.
Cry more.
Yeah, I mean, Gal, let me ask you, Gal, here. Do you think Spurs deserved the point today, Gal? As an Arsenal fan watching, do you think you agree with this super chat from Robert?
You got to give them credit. Fair play to Tottenham. Honestly, you can't watch that game and come out of it and be like, oh, they didn't deserve it. One thing you can say is, what was the referee thinking blowing the whistle in that situation when the players threw on goal? I think everyone can agree there. But hey, as Ange Postecoglou said, you don't want to. The referees have a tough job, right? So let it be. I'm here more to talk about Man City. These guys have been getting away with it for the longest time, where they have these kind of games and they always come out on top and they win. Now you're seeing situations where they play Tottenham, they play Liverpool, they play Chelsea, successive draws. In addition to that, Terry, in the last 4 games, if I'm not mistaken, they've conceded 10 goals. They were one of the best defenses in the league over the last couple of years. Not only that, we talk about Erling Haaland being this great striker that he is, and I'm not gonna lie, he's an amazing striker. But in these games, when they need a goal, the service is not there. KDB is obviously not there. Gundogan's not there. The service is not there to the level where they used to have it. He's not scoring the same amount of goals as last season. And this team, this Man City team, this juggernaut of a Man City team, 4 games this season, 4 big games this season, they've come out with 4 points. If this was Tottenham last season, if this was Tottenham Man City last season, like it was last year, Tottenham score those goals, City have another goal in them. This season, they just didn't have it. And Ange Postecoglou, I was expecting for you guys to get absolutely hammered. 4 fullbacks, him coming out and saying we're gonna give it a go. Fair play. I can't come here and have any criticism for Tottenham, because one, they said what they were gonna do and they did it. And this is now the second time they've done that. It makes the point that we got at Emirates look a little bit better now that you see Man City also drop points to them at home. And don't forget, when we drop points to them, they had a fully fit squad. This Tottenham team has big players missing. You got their 2 center halves missing. You have Maddison missing, and they're putting in a performance like that. That's where you got to give Tottenham credit. You can't come here and say, oh, they got lucky. At the end of the day, there's an element of luck in every game. There's small margins in these games.
And look, I think you look at it as well. City missed their chances. One good save from Vicario. Missing a chance is no different. Missing sitters and open goals is no different to what Bissouma did.
Yeah.
It's a different area of the football pitch, but it's still an error. It just isn't ever classified in that way. And Haaland missed 2 absolute sitters. The shots that hit the post and the bar, they're off target shots. So at the end of the day, when you're missing great opportunities, that's no different to a defender giving the ball away that leads to a goal, or a goalkeeper letting the ball. I mean, in fairness as well, he hasn't even been called out today, because if his name was Onana, he would be. The first shot from Son, it's gone underneath Ederson. It's not even that good a shot. A bit of power. That should have been saved fairly simplistically by a world-class goalkeeper. But yeah, City never get this. I get why they don't get the same criticism, because they win so much and they have so much credit in the bank. But they do. Whether they get better or not is irrelevant. They are off key right now, and they should be criticised. And I think, of course, the fans are going to protect Pep, but he's up against a lot of pressure this year with two teams now really pushing him for his title. and the likes of Everton and Spurs closely following behind.
Two people deserve criticism. One, Erling Haaland, because he's the main man. He's the guy who's supposed to get them out of problems, and he's missing gilt edge chances in games. It might not be this game, but I need to see a hat trick from him soon, because he's not the same guy that we were seeing last year. And maybe it was just difficult for him to maintain that without the service. Number two, what has happened to the defense in the last couple of games? Because this defense was unpenetrable last season. Their defense this season has been leaking a lot of goals. And it's not a coincidence that when you have less control of the games, you don't have as much chances created, you're not finishing off teams early, you can't focus as much on the defense, and you're going to have more open games. The Chelsea game, okay, let that slide. But 2 successive games like this, you look at it and you got to say to themselves, do City have an issue defensively now? It's not only because obviously goals are always going to be there, but for them to concede 10 goals, Terry, it's not about the goalkeeper. Is it the system? Is it the players? What is different that's causing this leaky defense at this moment in time? Is it just John Stones not available always like he was last year? Is that the difference? John Stones coming back, KDB coming back?
I think I hear people saying about obviously being on a hangover from the treble. And don't get me wrong, I think that could be true. But I'm also seeing almost like a hangover from the City fans. Like in that stadium today, it sounded like you could hear a pin drop other than the Spurs fans. If they weren't there, it was just so flat.
Wait,
and this is... Yeah, go on.
Have you been to the Etihad before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. When I went a couple of seasons ago, we won VAR, Kane scored right at the end.
Yeah.
Genuinely, they are the worst fan base in the whole country.
But this is what I'm trying to say, because in these past performances when they're not getting results, their fans are not behind them, right? But then this is the reason they're so good is because towards the end of the season they'll go on a 10-game run. This is when the fans like start to pick up, but get behind them, because they know that they need to win these games. But at the moment, they're like, oh, we'll be fine. Like, we'll go on this 10 game
there's
run.
Almost a little complacency from the fans. It's all going to be okay. And I think I definitely heard that too. On your point, Igal, I just looked at this, and it's really interesting because Arsenal have been called out that this whole nonsense that a good defense can win you a league for the first time ever being downplayed. City have conceded as many goals in the last 4 matches as Arsenal have done in their last 12. And it's Arsenal that are now starting to grow a gap at the top of the league, which if City continue in this vein for just one more game and Arsenal continue in their vein for one more game, that could be a 6-point gap, which is bigger than at this stage last year. So yes, Arsenal have less points, but I'd rather have less points than a 6-point gap than more points than a 5-point gap at the end, and be harder to beat, harder to break down, harder to score goals against. Those things, and that's the one thing with City, they're not rubbish and they're not easy to play against. But in the context of a title race, they're allowing too many teams to break their lines with passing compared to most seasons. And those little extra, you add those up over the course of a season, that might be an extra 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points dropped. And if that happens, and Liverpool and Arsenal maintain their levels, they're not winning the league again.
Terry, mark my word, Aston Villa at home are one of the toughest games in this league at this moment in time. I could see Aston Villa coming out of that game with another draw, and that could be then maybe 4 successive draws in a row.
It could. It really, really could. Let's do some more of these super chats here. This is Saka absent when Arsenal beat City. Matters today, lol. It's true.
He's out.
Sorry?
Madison's out injured.
No, that's what he's saying. He was saying Saka missed the game that City when you beat City, and then Madders missed it. Basically saying City lost, like, have dropped points to the North London teams when their best creators have been out. That's what he means. That felt almost on purpose from the refs. Shocking. I don't know if it was on purpose, but it looked it. Told you about VAR earlier. Can we trust VAR? My point was proven earlier. Well, VAR didn't make any mistakes today. The ref on the field did. And because he blew his whistle, there's no protocol to... What can you do from that point? You can't, like, create that situation again. I can't wait for December 23rd, Liverpool versus Arsenal. Yeah, that game is massive now after today. Rakesh says, wow, the hatred is soothing for a change, is what he says here. Terry, why isn't your caption Man City robbed? I told you why earlier, cool guy, because Man City fans tell me they don't want to talk about refereeing decisions. They just want to focus on the game. I think you were robbed, though. But there we go, brother. Thank you for the super chat, my G. LLL draw, the title challenges on. Andy Nguyen, who is a Liverpool fan, says, as a Tottenham Spurs fan, Chelsea fan, here Man City were robbers. The second time a foul, average play referees is awful. Kind of get what you're saying there. Thank you, Andy. Would want the same table position in May? Come on, you gooners. Yeah, I bet you would. Arsenal hard-fought wins don't seem so bad anymore. Listen, of course they don't. It was all nonsense, that. City lost to Arsenal 4-4 with Chelsea, 1-1 with Liverpool, 3-3 with Spurs. I wonder, some of us predicted a draw, and that's coming from an Arsenal fan. Something's cooking, is what Sky King says. Fair play to whoever scouted Vicario. Yeah, Vicario is a proper goalkeeper, isn't he? Like, he's so good.
Signing of the summer, probably.
Yeah, if Maddison didn't get injured, Vicario's definitely up there for sure.
Them, I'm talking about. Not
yeah. I mean, he's one of the best signings of the summer, I think, for any team. And, you know, sometimes when fans say, oh, we need a new goalie, but go, who would you sign? I don't know. I'm not a scout, but players like Vicario are out there in all positions that are top quality, that have just not been discovered yet or given a chance. Yeah.
You see the difference, right, between Vicario and Lloris, yeah? Lloris is sick, and he used to make most of his dives look amazing and theatrical, yeah? But Vicario, I can trust on the ball, whereas Lloris, I could never trust him on the ball.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't play out the back. You couldn't do what you're doing now with Lloris. I agree.
On the ball.
This here says, as an Arsenal fan, I'm worried about Pep, that Pep will now go back to the drawing board and City will start dominating again, just like last season. I don't think it's something worth worrying about, mate. It can happen. Just enjoy the games and relax right now. We're only 14 games in. I'm waiting for Hassam to come on and say, I told you so. He did get it spot on, to be fair. Why are we talking about a title at the start of December? Also, whenever City loses to Spurs, they usually go on a mad run. So let's calm down.
City don't lose to Spurs at home. City don't lose to Spurs at home. They usually come back and find a way at home. I know 2 years ago they did, but like, let's not do this whole thing. I think the whole City fan base is asleep and they don't realize what's happening in front of them at this moment in time. They have a possibility where they could drop a lot of points early in this campaign and then having to play catch up and realize that, you know what, similar issues that are happening early in the campaign might happen to them later in the season, and they just don't have the squad depth and the quality that they had before. They have some young players that are coming through, like Gavardio, Doku, and Julian Alvarez. But are they the same game changers as a Riyad Mahrez, as a Gundogan, who have done it week in, week out in the Premier League? I don't think so.
This here says Sheikh's payments to the referee haven't cleared. Listen,
I was actually going to say that City. The City owner, he tried bringing the briefcase into the room for my man, but you know what I mean? He didn't say yes this time. I see them crying about
someone tried saying the other day City never have things go against them, and I was like, I didn't remember very many, but in the last couple of weeks they have. I thought their second goal against Liverpool should have stood based on them allowing the goal that Newcastle scored against Arsenal, and they were hard done by today. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And if it was the other way around, Harry, you especially would be absolutely. Imagine that Son's running through one-on-one, and then he brings it back. You get crazy over that. I want to ask you, Spurs boy, before the end of the show, who was your standout player today, Reece? Who is it you think walks away with your man of the match?
For me, it's quite obvious. I mean, it's Kulusevski. I think he's been the best player for a good 3 or 4 weeks. While all these players have been out injured since Chelsea, Kulusevski's really stepped up. Like, he's scoring big goals, he's getting assists. Just the way you can never get the ball off him. He's just so good, and he's just undroppable for me. But yeah, I think Kulusevski.
I think close mention Lo Celso as well. I think the last couple of games he's kind of shown that, you know, he never really got a fair crack on the first Mourinho. I think Mourinho, because he was having good games before Mourinho, but Mourinho just for some reason just didn't like him, didn't fancy him, and he's kind of
against City under Mourinho. He scored against City under Mourinho as well. In lockdown.
So yeah, and then that seemed to kind of domino into the other managers that came in. I've always wanted Lo Celso to get a good, fair crack at us, and I think he's good enough to be, like under Madders, like an alternative to Maddison. But we definitely, I think it's a close call between Kulusevski and Lo Celso for me.
Fair enough. And how about yourself, Harry?
Simon Hooper, baby.
Yeah.
City fans cry more. Lo Celso, my guy. Do you not remember when Kate was chatting about Lo Celso? Everyone was like, oh my
there
days.
she is.
I have been waiting this whole time. Lo
I
Celso,
heard my name, you see. That's what it was. I heard my name and I thought I better come in. What was
Lo
she
Celso,
saying then?
baby. I want to talk about Lo Celso. I was
Go on,
waiting. I was waiting last weekend, but then we lost. I was thinking, I can't wait to say this. Talking about my boy. Hey, Kate, what have you got to say for yourself? You're chatting about him 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I said, believe in him. I said, give him a chance. Believe in him.
He was crap the first half.
But the second half, he was better, no? So that's
But
irrelevant.
yeah, oh my God. Harry, do you know what? You've learned nothing, have you? You've learned nothing in these first few weeks. You're getting overexcited again.
No, I'm not.
Celso is a bang average player who would never, ever get anywhere near our team if we had our first team fit.
I think he deserves a chance. I think he deserves.
We haven't got a choice but to play him.
2 goals in 2 games. The guy's playing his heart out, and he's really improved. Obviously, since Joe's era, it's completely different now. I just wanted to say that. I'm not like coming for you on that, and I'm just saying.
It's interesting though. It's interesting that I think Bissouma's dropped again a little bit. Like he had such obviously when he had Papin Matassar and Madders in the team. He was, we were saying that's the Bissouma that we've always wanted. But I must admit, since the injuries and the suspensions, I think Bissouma's sort of performances have dropped as well. So
Massively.
I think he needs certain types of players around him. I think he's
100%. My husband
to really get the best out of him.
Maddison and Bissouma's partnership is brilliant, and I think Biss feeds on that, and I think he's missing that. But you know what? I thought it was a good game, exciting game, and happy with the point.
So much positivity from the Terrace
unexpected.
Today. Alan being happy, Kate being... I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah, I'm always happy. I just don't ever think we're going to win the league like you do.
I'm not saying that
happy.
now.
I'm happy when we're winning. But
top 4?
Top 4 is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. We just have to see how we go. But, I mean, I think Postecoglou deserves a massive amount of credit. Terry was calling us to change his tactics. Terry, I'm looking at you. Do you know what? He stands by his philosophy, and sometimes he will get found out, but he just wants to play that way.
So, and do you know what? It is okay. Like he did change though for me, and what I mean by that is I've said all along, his style of play doesn't need to change. It's game management, and in the first half, you guys, I mean, you should have gone in at halftime, in my opinion, 3-4, maybe even 5-1 down.
Yeah.
Second half, you brought in Højbjerg, and it started a bit funny because you had that chance you conceded straight away. But then you were just more measured in the way you played. And I think having that extra body in the midfield just meant you were able to protect your back line a little bit more. And then you just became more of a threat on that kind of, with the counter press and then attacking them. And that's what I think he's got to learn, is that sometimes you can play an attacking style of football, but you need to do it with different players because you need to be able to absorb the attack of the opponents. And I think I watched him today. It's a cliche, but a game of 2 halves. And the second half, if you'd have started with that team and played like that from the first whistle, I think you'd have won. I think you'd have won the game. I really do think. And yes, I get a part of it today with City looked a bit off, and I get that in the second half it was a bit flat. But part of that was because you guys made it harder for them. I didn't think they could break through you as easy in that second half, where in the first half they did. But listen, he's got a philosophy. He should definitely stick to it. I just think he's got to adjust game management depending on, for instance, you get 2 players sent off. Don't play on the halfway line. Look what Chelsea did today against Brighton, a very good team. But listen, I think you've got a very serious manager there. I think you've got a manager that can make you a brilliant team if he's backed by your board. And okay, me and you agree on that massively. He's got to be backed. If he does, what a team you may end up having.
But it's got to be the players that he identifies, Terry. I think this is where we've gone wrong in recent years as well. It's not that Levy hasn't spent money, because they have bought players, but they haven't bought the kind of players. It seems like they haven't bought the sort of players that the managers want.
Let me throw this at you. I think you've bought players in the last three years who fit a Poch, who fit a Postecoglou. I think you were buying players that didn't fit the negative pragmatist that you had at your club. Exactly. That's why you've seen Bissouma come alive. Sarr looks, he played a few games last year, looks better. If Maddison was playing for Antonio Conte, you think he'd be doing what he's doing now. Why has Son come alive again? Why has Kulusevski come alive again? I actually think if you guys keep buying profiles that you have done, maybe not Eric Dyer's, we'll leave that one out. Like, if you keep buying a lot of the same play, even when you look at like Emerson Royale for you now, Porro for you now compared to last year, for me watching as an outsider, they look like exponentially better football players.
Yeah.
So I think you have been buying the right profiles, but for the wrong manager. You now have the right manager for what you've been building, and that's the problem with my club. We buy all these players, and we always bring the manager in that don't suit them.
Yeah.
What
gives me hope? What gives me hope is that like Van de Ven and Maddison definitely, it seems like Ange definitely had a say in that. Like because I mean Maddison's always in interviews he always mentions the call that he had with Ange, and he said whether you come to us or not, you're going to see a completely different Tottenham this year than you have done in the last few years. So I do believe that. I think that's what gives me hope. I mean, Ben plays like Maddison. I think he did have a say, and had he not signed off on it, we probably wouldn't have signed those players. And hopefully, fingers crossed, long may that continue.
I hear you on that. Terry, we are playing United away on week 37. Considering we have a history of winning the title at rivals' grounds, what would the odds be on it? I won't be covering that game. As much as people think I'm an Arsenal fan, I won't be covering it. I'll be going away. Do you know what I mean? I ain't doing that. Kept throwing shade at Arteta now over refs. I haven't seen it. Has he? What's he said? He's a bad. I'm happy.
He's a bad loser, isn't he?
Oh, he's a terrible loser. Even though he didn't lose today, but he's terrible. Let's see if I can find the video. I've seen his face pop up. What's he said? Let me go to videos here. Come on, let it be funny. Please let it be funny. Right, let's listen.
Next question. I will not do a Mikel Arteta comment, so
they are. Oh, they asked him about the referee. He's not throwing shade. He was asked a question. His thoughts on the Jack Grealish, the referee thing, and he says no comment. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to give an answer like Mikel Arteta. Essentially saying I'm not going to do something that's probably going to lead to me getting. I don't think that's throwing shade at Arteta. To be fair,
I don't either.
Sarr covers for Bissouma. It's not Bissouma's preferred position, hence why the drop-off. Yeah, teamwork. I don't think Spurs will make the top four. Villa will. Maybe. Look, it's going to be a tough race, but Spurs, look, they stopped the rot today. Go and beat West Ham. Go and get a positive result against Newcastle, and I think people will start changing their minds. Spurs 6th, Newcastle 4th, Villa 5th. I mean, it still won't be a bad first season for Spurs, but it's going to be an interesting prediction. Listen, I want to thank you all for coming on. Okay, it's only just arrived. I'm exhausted. I've been up since earlier. I took the kids to a Winter Wonderland thing today. It's good, though. It was very nice. I didn't want to leave. I just thought it was Santa, but it was really good. So I'm exhausted because man's getting old. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. I want to thank everybody that's played Golden Goals this weekend on BetMGM. If you haven't done so yet, get it downloaded. It is amazing. You do have to be over the age of 18 to play it. It's free. And if you predict this forthcoming week, 6 correct Premier League results, £2 million tax-free in your bank account. Remember, we're live tomorrow as well, 6 p.m., the Top 6 show. So make sure you're all back for that. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all.